Hey, and welcome back to the channel. So welcome to our Tuesday night live broadcast. Whether you are with us here live Tuesday night, if you're on here live with us, comment down below. Let me know where you're watching from. And hi, it's like something so cool about knowing that right now I'm here talking and you're somewhere else in the world, wherever you're at, listening. Isn't technology amazing? And if you're watching the recording and it's not real time, that's cool too, that you can actually, that we have the technology we have to be able to do those kinds of things. So anyway, regardless if it's your first time, if you're live, if you're not, welcome. So tonight we are going to be talking about habits. Habits. It's actually one of my most favorite things to talk about in life in general, because we are like, first we form our habits and then our habits form us. And so if you look at your life, whether it's marriage, whether it's your weight, whether it's the kind of mom or dad you are or the kind of mom or dad you're not, whether it's your spending habits, whether it's how much wealth you've accumulated, whether it is how broke or wealthy you are, it doesn't matter what it is. We form our habits and then our habits form us. And you know, this really applies to every single area of our life. We're going to use some specific examples tonight that talk about weight loss, that talk about your health. But again, you can apply this teaching to any area of your life, whether it's your business, if you are an entrepreneur, whether you're a developed entrepreneur who's had a business for a while and you want to see your business grow in any economy, whether you're a wannabe entrepreneur and you want to succeed, but right now there's just the hope of succeeding. There's not the success yet. Whether you are a mom who's struggling or you want to be a mom someday, whether you are a wife or husband who's struggling but you have the hopes for a harmonious, passionate marriage, not one of the statistics who wind up divorced or sleeping in separate bedrooms and, all those things. So my point is, tonight's message really crosses over into all those areas because we are a sum total of our habits. First, we form our habits and then our habits form us. So I want to go ahead and read the definition of what a habit is. A habit is a settled or regular tendency or practice. Actions we do involuntarily without even thinking. So actions we do involuntarily without even thinking, okay? Driving to work, that's a great example of a habit. A lot of times, routes we've driven over and over and over again. Have you ever been driving and all of a sudden you get there and you're like, you don't even remember the drive. You don't even remember parts of it. And you're like, wait, what the heck? Putting your shoes on. Most of us put our shoes on without even thinking. There's things that we do every single day that we're just used to doing that we don't even have to think about doing. Synonyms of a habit are custom, practice, routine, pattern, way, norm, and tradition, okay? So our habits are who we are, and they dictate who we will become. So our habits have led us to exactly where we're at. And they will drive us to wherever we are going in the future. So they've got us to where we're at in the present, and they will dictate where we go in the future. So oftentimes, when I'm working with clients, whether it's, scaling their business, whether it's potty training their child, whether it's sleep training their child, whether it's being more efficient with their time, paying off debt, losing weight, whatever capacity I'm working with somebody in, so many times we have high hopes. We have high hopes, but we have downhill habits. Okay? We have high hopes. I'm going to lose weight once and for all. I'm going to grow that business. I'm going to be more patient with my kids. I'm going to stop nagging my spouse and using sex as a weapon. I used to do that. It's the only reason I can talk about it. I know someone was just like, wait, what? Thought we were talking about weight loss. Anyway, so we have high hopes. We're hoping for the best. but we have downhill habits. It doesn't matter how high your hopes are if your habits don't match up to your hopes. So tonight, over the next 20 minutes, we're going to identify what some of those bad habits are. And we're just going to talk generally about bad habits when it comes to good health, weight loss, things like that. But again, these transfer in to any area. And this is up to you. There's not one size fits all when it comes to bad habits. So this is really where you need to put on your investigator hat and go investigate and see where are your bad habits. Where do you have high hopes and downhill habits? What are your downhill habits that have led you to where you're at versus leading you to where you want to be? Okay. So we are what we repeatedly do, and our habits are what we repeatedly do. And so when it comes to habits, so often you'll hear people say, all right, I need to change this habit. I need to break this habit. I need to stop doing it. Well, what I'm going to tell you is the only way to get rid of a bad habit. I'm all about round-upping bad habits. I'm all about getting rid of bad habits. However, the only way to completely get rid of a bad habit is to pull out the old bad habit and to replace it with a good one. To replace the bad habit with a success habit. To replace the habit that's taking you away from your goals and replace it with one that's getting you to your goals, okay? So most people develop habits. Most people never develop habits to reach their goals. They develop habits simply by who we're hanging out with. We are the sum total of the 5 closest people we hang around. So let's just take this for example. Let's just say you want to be wealthy. You want to be financially free. You don't want to be broke. But let's just say that's my goal. But I'm hanging out with people that constantly spend everything they make, that are constantly buying things they don't need. They're not budgeting. They're not watching what they make. They're going out and buying more clothes when they have a closet full. They're buying more shoes when they already have more than what they need. They are wasting food, throwing food away. They're not being financially responsible with their money. If that is who my influence is, well, I'm going to start developing habits based on my circle of influence, based on who I am allowing myself to be influenced by. So first and foremost is setting yourself up to succeed. If you want to create habits that are going to help get you to where you want to go, then you've got to make sure your environment is nurturing that. You've got to make sure that your environment is backing up that goal. Because if your environment isn't backing up the goal, well, you are fighting an uphill battle. You are making it harder on yourself. You are not setting yourself up to succeed. You're actually setting yourself up to fail. And listen, success is simple, but make no mistake, it is hard. And the last thing we want to do is be setting ourselves up to fail. We definitely want to be setting ourselves up to succeed. So let's go ahead and dive in to what maybe some of our bad habits. I'm going to give you some examples of what these might be. And again, remember the premise. We don't eliminate a bad habit. It is replace. It's not eliminate, replace. So often, and I just want to tackle this right now. If we eliminate a bad habit, then we're not controlling what comes back in that habit's place. And so we can eliminate a bad habit, but more often than not, that same habit's going to come right back, but even stronger, bigger, badder, bolder, or aggressive, or another bad habit might pop up in its own place. So we want to make sure if we're going to go through the work and the trouble of eliminating the bad habit, that we're going to replace it with a good one. That all the work we're putting into getting rid of a bad habit is getting us closer to our goals, not further away and more frustrated. And this is what happens a lot of times when people go out and they try to lose weight. They stop eating sugar, they stop eating carbs, they start working out, like they get off the couch, they're moving more, or they stop doing things that led them to overweight. But they don't ever replace it with a good habit. They don't ever replace the bad habit with a good habit. And so they just stop doing the bad habit. Well, then all of a sudden, What happens when they're done with that diet? What happens when they're done losing weight? Well, they go gain it all back. Why? Because they only eliminated the bad habit. They never replaced the bad habit with good habits. And remember, good habits are things we do without even thinking about it. So let's go ahead and identify what some of the bad habits might be, okay? And again, we're going to use weight loss as an example. We're going to use your health as an example. So number one bad habit, and this is going to come from my personal experience with my own weight loss journey and with clients that I work with, things that I see in my profession, helping people cross over from failing to succeeding with weight loss. The first one is not tracking what I ate, not tracking what I was eating in a day, winging it, eyeballing it, pouring on the salad dressing, going, that's about 2 tablespoons, cutting the brownie, going, that's about a serving. It says 20. I think that's equal. 4 ounces of chicken, palm of my hand. That's about right. Winging it. Eating the chips out of the bag, and then being like, I think that was 20 that I ate. Winging it, not tracking. That is a bad habit. So what would be the opposite habit of not tracking your nutrition and not tracking your food? And again, this is the same thing. Let's just flip over to a second. We talked about the example just a second ago of becoming wealthy, of becoming financially independent, of paying off all of your debt within 5 to 7 years, including your mortgage. Well, in order to do that, you've got to know where your money is going. You've got to start tracking your money. And if you don't track your money, the first step I ever took with getting control of my finances was start tracking where it's going. Start seeing where every penny is going. And that was the first step. And my husband paying off over $250,000 in debt, all of our debt, including our mortgage, becoming completely debt-free, living in this 5,400 square foot home that I still clean all by myself. Most of it is not carpeted, which means you gotta scrub the floors. It's awesome. Anyway, no, it really is. I love our home. We live in a log home back in the woods, and it's deer in our yard like every single day. It's really beautiful. However, my point is, us living in a home that was completely paid off started with tracking where our money was going. Every penny. Because prior to that, we didn't know. So it's the same thing with our food. We have got to know every calorie that's going in our mouth. Because the single biggest reason why we're overweight, it's not because you're thyroid, it's not because you're over 40, it's not because you've had kids. The single biggest reason we're overweight is because we're overeating. We're putting in too much food, and when we don't use all the food, because the food is energy for our body, so when we eat too much energy, aka food, then what we need, that extra energy turns to fat on our bodies. So that is what happens when we eat extra food, is it turns to fat. So when we're not tracking our food, we really have no idea. I was one of those overweight people for years that was like, I think it's because I don't eat breakfast. Or I think it's because I eat really late at night. Or I think it's because I have an office job. Or I think it's because I have slow metabolism and it just runs in my genes. I'm one of those big bone girls, and that's how it is. I had all the reasons, all the excuses. But no, when I started tracking my food, it was like, it's because I'm shoving too much in my pie hole. That is why I'm overweight. So not tracking your food is a bad habit. And when you don't track your food, listen, we are the sum total of the things we do and lived out every day. What we do daily is what we will become. And we typically do our habits every single day. And so the opposite, a good habit to replace with the bad habit of not tracking your food would be tracking it. Tracking your food. Like every single thing you put in your mouth. Tracking it. Like becoming one of those people. That's actually the words I used to use. I'm like, I am not gonna become one of those obsessive people that tracks every single thing they put in their mouth. That is no fun. That's not sexy. And like, whatever. I totally judged those people, but they had what I wanted. And yeah, is it funner to just wing it and eat according to my cravings and according to what I want today? I mean, kind of, but not, what's fun? And what's sexy? Being able to walk into any store and put on anything without Spanx underneath it. You know what's fun? And what's sexy? Being able to go to the water park with my kids, like we did last week, and not wearing a cover up and wearing a bikini. As a mom of 3, that's what's fun. That's what's sexy. And that's way funner than that unplanned chocolate that's gonna go in my mouth and end up as caca in the toilet tomorrow. And so, listen, sometimes when we're looking at the old habits and then we look at the new habit to replace it with, we can look at that new habit and we can judge the new habit. We can accuse the new habit of not being fun, but it's only because we're friends with the old habit. It's only because we're comfortable with the old habit. What you might find is on the outside looking in, that new habit doesn't look very fun because we like the old habit. It's comfortable. We know it. It knows us. But when you kick that old habit to the curb and you actually start to get to know the new habit, what you might find is maybe it wasn't as bad as we thought it was in most cases. All right, number 2, eating my feelings. All of them. I mean, come on, give me a break. I was 288 pounds. I was morbidly obese. Like, I was clearly an emotional eater. And what I'm going to tell you is that being an emotional eater is also a habit. As a mom of 3, popping 3 babies out of my body, none of them were born an emotional eater. None of my babies, asked for chocolate because they got disciplined. None of them wanted because they were upset. No, emotional eating is a habit. It is created, a lot of times it stems from childhood. It's created by well-meaning parents who just really don't know any better. That's where it stems from a lot of times. But emotional eating is a habit. Emotional eating is a habit. We are emotional creatures. And it's so funny because being overweight and having a weight problem is all emotional. And we try to sit here and talk logical about it. Let's be logical about this emotional problem, because it's really all we can do is try to add some logic to this emotional thing that keeps a lot of us stuck. Like grown-ups lying about what we're eating. Grown-ups shoving wrappers to the bottom of the trash can so we don't get caught eating candy bar. Guilty! Oh my goodness. So embarrassing. So eating our emotions is a habit. Well, what would be the opposite habit of eating our emotions? Because and when I say emotions, I'm talking about mad. I'm talking about sad. I'm talking about happy. We gotta celebrate. Woo! Give me the wine, give me the tequila, give me the chips, give me the ice cream. Little Johnny just won his game. Let's go get banana splits for everybody. Oh my gosh, you got all A's on your report card. McDonald's. So we create these emotional attachments, these emotional habits when it comes to food. And it just becomes a habit that when we do something good, we've got to celebrate with food. When we have a bad day, we have to console ourselves with food. And so really it's about replacing that with another habit. And so this was a big one for me because I really did try to self-medicate with food and it never worked. I tried to, every emotion that I had, somehow food was connected to it. I mean, probably not shocking. I was morbidly obese, that makes sense. But it was about finding things that I could do that weren't tied to food to celebrate. So maybe it was, buying some bath salts and taking a bubble bath. Maybe it was going to get a manicure or a pedicure. Maybe it was if I got this certain thing, I would get to go get a massage or a new pair of workout pants or a new pair of tennis shoes or whatever it was. I got to get some Froyo, some frozen yogurt, single serve. So freaking good. whatever it is. Or maybe when I was frustrated, instead of turning to food, maybe I took a walk. Maybe I took a bubble bath. Maybe I listened to music. Maybe I did a workout. It's what I do now when I'm having a bad day or a bad moment. I either clean, scrub that tub, I do a workout, or I play some music, okay? And the working out thing still really trips me out. I've always cleaned when I'm stressed. When I get like really nervous or frustrated or upset, I always clean. Like I'm the broad that, I mean, my husband and I don't really fight very often, but if we did fight, or like when I had ex-boyfriends, this is a better example with them, and we'd get in a fight, I'd be organizing till 2 or 3 in the morning. In the first year of our marriage, actually, let me go back there because that would work. In the first year of our marriage, oh my goodness, my husband and I did not have a good first year of marriage. At the end of that year, we wound up knocking on divorce's doorstep. I would be organizing at 2 or 3 in the morning. Like, anyway. So my point is, replacing the bad habits, if we're talking about weight, then organizing is a good habit to replace eating with. And so as long as you're not organizing and eating. But so looking at that bad habit and what can we do to replace it? But the first thing we have to do is recognizing the bad habit. All right, let's move along. Eating while watching TV. Listen, you will eat 50% more calories by mindlessly eating, watching TV, being on the computer. And so what I would say is don't have any technology on. Watching TV while eating is a habit. Not sitting down and enjoying a meal is a habit. Eating while being on your phone or on your computer is a habit. Eating while standing up is a habit. You know, about 5 years ago, I noticed that I never sat down to eat. Breakfast, I was on the go eating. Lunch, I was on the go eating. Dinner, I sat down because at that point we had kids and, but prior to then, eating dinner was in front of the TV. So I was on the go for breakfast, I was on the go for lunch, and I was in front of the TV for dinner. Those are my eating habits. 5 years ago, I'm like, wow, okay, I've got kids. Like, what habits do I want them to have when it comes to eating? So breakfast, it was sitting down at the table, thinking like, okay, I don't need to be entertained while I'm eating breakfast. I don't need the TV. I don't need my phone. So it was looking out, admiring nature, watching those deer come into the yard that I talked about, having a conversation with my kids, thinking about what I wanted to accomplish for the day. Same thing with lunch, sitting down, even if it's 5 or 10 minutes, sitting down and actually eating and enjoying my food. Those are healthy habits, not constantly being on the go and definitely not being entertained while we're eating. We eat more always when we're mindlessly eating. Eating while driving. Oh my God, I was so bad at this. Eating while driving. Going through the drive-thru. Eating while driving. And now when I eat while driving, it's almost always fruit. Like I'll take an apple with me, or I'll cut up an apple, or I'll cut up a peach, I'll cut up a pear, or it's a protein bar. But if I'm eating while driving, it's typically on a road trip, like we're driving 12 hours, 15 hours, 17 hours, whatever it is. But if I'm just running around, I almost never eat in the car. It's a bad habit. And so what do I do in the car? I listen to podcasts. I catch up on some messages that I need to listen to. I might listen to some training that if I'm trying to become better in a certain area. Sometimes, whatever it is, I'll listen to things. I'll talk with my kids. I'll talk with my husband. I'll listen to the radio, but I don't eat. I always have water with me. I always drink my water, but no eating. All right. Leaving the house for a craving. Also a habit. Oh man, just, a taco. It's Tuesday and it's Taco Tuesday. Taco Bell's right up the road. I could just run there. So leaving the house for a craving is a habit versus, no, I don't need it. It's not here. I'm not going to get it. Instead, I'm going to make some tea. That's what I do. When I have a craving, I make tea. I can make it savory. I can make it sweet. Whatever it is. So eating till I was full. That's another one. Oh my gosh, this is such an overweight habit. I had this fear of being hungry. I really thought those skinny fit chicks walked around starving. I thought you must eat salads and suck on lemons all day and you must just be starving. And I was so afraid to be starving. And I had gotten so used to, I really had the habit of eating till I was full. And I would go to sleep, like even on a Sunday afternoon, I would eat until I was full and then I would take a nap. There was something so comforting to me about being full and falling asleep, that when I started not being full, when I started not overeating to the point that I'm full, it was like, oh my goodness. When my stomach would growl, it was like, oh, what is going on? What is going on? And I finally had to adopt the mindset of, no, like if I eat before I go to bed and my stomach is full, that means it's going to spend the whole night breaking down the food that I've eaten versus breaking down the fat stores attached to my behind. And so whenever my habit used to be when I felt my stomach rumble to eat. I had to change the habit to whenever I felt my stomach rumble to drink some water. Drink some water. Because also a lot of times our bodies mistake dehydration for hunger. And so that's a horrible habit to eat until we're full. Not having a plan. Quitting. Quitting is a habit. Diet hopping is a habit. No accountability is a habit. Not having a coach, trying to do it all on your own is a habit. Hiding your weight, not talking about your struggles is a habit. So those are a list of some of mine. What are some of yours? What are some of your bad habits that have kept you stuck? So you're going to look at those bad habits and you're going to look at what you do daily. Anything you do daily is a habit. And you're going to start asking yourself, typically the amount of sleep we get is a habit. You should be getting 7 to 9 hours of sleep a night. If you're not, it's a habit that you go to bed at 1 o'clock and get up at 7. You need to change the habit. Now, for some of us, that might be a time management thing. But, and my point is looking at your habits. And when you're looking at your habits, it's looking at what habits are helping me get to where I want to go and what habits are taking me further away from where I want to go. What habits are causing frustration? What habits are keeping me stuck? What habits aren't serving you? What habits need to hit the road? What habits need to go find a new home? So it's really getting real with yourself and making a list of what habits have you developed that need to go? And then what will I replace them with? Here's the bad habit that I'm going to get rid of. But in getting rid of that, what will I replace it with? And even if you started with one, pick the one you do the most. Don't try to tackle the whole list. Pick one. And after you've been working on that one bad habit for, 3 weeks, then pick another one. Work on that one. Now you're working on 2 for a minimum of 3 weeks. Then it's maybe add a third one in, depending on how you're doing. But start with 1. Don't try to be that person that's like, yeah, I got 10. By next week, I'm going to do them all. Because then you'll wind up doing none. Just pick 1. Start with 1. Change 1. And you'll start to move baby steps closer to your goal. And it's never the big steps that get us to our goal. It's always the little things. And so I'm telling you, this is big. This is huge. This is ginormous when it comes to success. First, we form our habits, and then our habits form us. And if we're not happy with where we're at, then we need to form some new habits. Will it be easy? Will there be days where you're like, this is hard? Absolutely. Absolutely. But will it be worth it? Yes. Don't ask for it to be easy. Ask for it to be worth it. So anyway, I would love to hear if you're bold and brave enough in the comments to let me know, what is the one bad habit you will work on? What is the one bad habit you will change leaving here tonight? And if you're like, I don't know, I've never thought about this, then just say that. I don't know. I really got to go dig deep. I don't know what it is. I got to go think about it. Like, wow, you just hit me with a ton of bricks, Carmen. So anyway, with that being said, I want to thank you for joining us tonight. I want to thank you for watching. I want to thank you for staying till the end, for investing time into yourself to learn what is actually going to help you succeed. Before you leave, smash that like button. Make sure you hit the subscribe button, ring the notification bell. All three of those things take you a couple seconds, and it'll alert you every time we upload success tips, health tips, weight loss tips here on the channel. So thank you so much for watching. We will see you on the next one.